Mr. Jacob Appelbaum, independent security researcher, developer and advocate with the Tor project. My first question to you, Mr. Appelbaum, is there any privacy on internet?
There are limited spaces which we, with the help of strong encryption, or just encryption we might say, it's possible, for example, to use things like Signal, the private messaging application, to make a private phone call, or to send a picture, or to send a video clip, and that's a private space. And it's possible to use the Tor browser so that you can visit, for example, the Council of Europe's website, and to do so without the Council of Europe knowing that you're reading a specific judgment or that you're looking at a particular page, say, relating to the Forum of Democracy here. And so those are private spaces which are afforded to us by technology. And it is the case that we live in an era of mass surveillance where not only spy agencies of all kinds, but also anyone can spy and watch on the internet. And they have different places on the internet that they can watch from, but largely without using strong encryption, you don't have a guarantee of privacy. You merely have an expectation that many different people will violate.
How can you get this strong encryption?
So if you go, for example, to torproject.org, you can download the Tor browser for a Mac or for Windows or for GNU Linux, and you can simply download it, double-click it, and run it. There's no technological knowledge required for that. There are, of course, caveats. You need to be careful about what you reveal, what you type in, but by default, you only reveal what you choose to reveal, which is the opposite of how a normal web browser might work, which immediately reveals your location and potentially reveals other sensitive information about you. So that's a useful thing. Signal can be installed by installing it from an app store, either on Apple's iOS or on an Android operating system in the Google Play Store. It's just called Signal Private Messenger. And both of these programs are free software for freedom, which means you have the four freedoms, which gives you the ability to study the source code of the program, to modify the source code of the program, to share your modifications with other people, and to run the software for any purpose whatsoever, which is really the core of what free software gives you. And so these programs, they're free as in cost, as in they cost nothing to use or to install, and they're free as in freedom. They give you freedom.
Speaking about Tor networks, which allows people to improve their privacy and security on the internet, Tor's users employ this network by connecting through a series of virtual tunnels rather than making a direct connection, thus allowing them organizations and individuals to share information over public networks without compromising their privacy. However, how can you prevent terrorists using this tool?
It's the same question that all open societies face, which is that if I protect you by default, well, I don't know anything about you. I don't know what you vote for. I don't know if you vote. I have no idea. But the basic fundamental idea of an open society, especially ours, is that there are certain universal human rights. And those human rights exist. They're there without a political test. They do not care what religion or what gender or what nation you come from. And so it is the case that with the internet, we have the same, which is that there is no test before you use the internet. The internet allows a wide variety of people from every country, of every religious faith, of every nationality, of every gender, to use the internet. And so it is the case that when you use the internet, you may use it to say things that I myself might not like, or that may be illegal in some place, or, for example, that might be hurtful or hateful. You might, for example, support a political cause that I would not like. You might take an action that I might not like. And this is the same for roads. You might drive down that road before you say that. You might drive down the road outside of my house before you say something that I don't like. But this is why we have these free...
serious. We are speaking about lives of people.
Bombs don't go off over the internet.
In Paris.
Bombs don't go off over the internet. The Kalashnikov that shot people in Paris happened in the physical world. Words.
But they have been organized probably over the internet.
No, actually they used unencrypted telephone calls and sent a message saying, quote, let's go. They didn't use fancy technology. The operational security properties of a family are such that they can talk to each other in their house. When three brothers want to have a conspiracy, there's nothing you're going to do on the internet that's going to impact that because they just talk in person. So the question is, do you want to take away your ability as a journalist, my ability as a journalist, to be able to talk to people securely and safely? so that you can also not harm those people. You will not change what those people have done, and you will not change what those people do in the future either if you take away something like Tor. It is the case that this helps everybody. Criminals always have other options. They, in fact, in this case, used their own credit cards in their own name, registered in a hotel completely non-anonymously, and did this with normal telephone calls, and somehow they had firearms in Europe. All of these things suggest a massive intelligence failure, and not that terrorists could have used encryption and did, but rather that terrorists didn't care because they were just going to kill themselves anyway.
In our world, we have simultaneously mass surveillance and terrorist attacks. From your point of view, is there any contradictions here?
Yeah, there is, which is an obvious one. But at the core, people believe of surveillance, mass surveillance, as a god. And it isn't. There is no god in this mass surveillance world. And this mass surveillance is flawed. It gathers a lot of information about everyone. And even if the analysis is better, it doesn't change the fact that there are people who are committing crimes, and there are only a certain number of people that will enforce laws about those things. And it is the case that the intelligence services here knew about these people. In other words, the intelligence systems worked, but then they did not actually take the action to stop. So this is not a technological discussion. It's an accountability problem. And the discussion about accountability is accountability with the failures of our intelligence services. That is the core thing. We can look to technology and we can hypothesize that terrorists used all this fancy technology to do this. But as far as we can tell, they were known to authorities, and the authorities did not act in a timely manner. And that calculation cost lives. The calculation may still be the best out of all of the calculations because, for example, some people have suggested preemptively rounding up people and arresting them and putting them in camps in France. That can't happen. That is a cost that is too high to pay. It's the transition from a free society to an unfree society. But we should not demonize the tools that keep us safe. It is the case that other people can, not just spy agencies, they can also exploit internet-related activities. They can also harm you. They can also steal money from your bank account. We need to build secure electronic systems that are distributed and decentralized. And when we do that, we actually make everything harder for individual actors as well as for states that are simply not under the rule of law.
Mr. Appelbaum, my last question. In your view, what should the governments do in order to increase the citizen security while preserving our right to privacy?
They should promote end-to-end encrypted systems, and they should do it in a way where our infrastructure is not sabotaged and weakened. The Russian government cares not at all for any French parliamentary procedures. When they want to wiretap someone in France, they will use whatever technological means that they have, and when systems are weak, they will break in and they will get them. And the Americans will too. And WikiLeaks has published that exact fact about French government officials. The NSA has wiretapped them, and the reason is because that was possible. And so law did not constrain them, because they are illegal.
Legislative measures, this is what...
Legislative measures only help if they build strong technological solutions, because other countries that are stronger than France, of which there are at least 4, and there are many electronically that may also be stronger in many ways, they don't care about French laws. So we have to build secure systems that are in line with that law. And when we do, we will see what the edges of possible are. We'll see what is the possible thing. And what we can see is, rather than giving into fear of terrorism, rather than committing more acts of violence to teach that violence is wrong, we should be building secure systems that make it harder. Make it harder to track women who are victims of domestic violence. When their spouses, not intelligence services, but when their spouses want to harm them, let's make that harder. Let's protect those women against domestic violence. When, for example, other people want to break into your computer to steal your banking information, let's make that harder. Even though it's true that sometimes also intelligence services might use those same bugs to break into a terrorist computer, the reality is you're much more likely to be a victim of a cybersecurity problem from a non-state than you are to be a victim of terrorism. We need to build secure infrastructure and secure systems that help to secure not only our economic viability, but our individual liberty.
Mr. Appelbaum, thank you so much for this interview.
Thank you very much.